Steven, I've got the weight of the world of supporting You Can't Disappoint a Podcast on my shoulders, and I thought maybe, just maybe, to lighten the load on my back, we could give our fellow listeners and enjoyers of You Can't Disappoint a Podcast some ways to help us out. What do you think?
Well, I'm not normally in the habit of lightening the load on your back, but, if people want to help us, they sure can. How can they do that, Zach?
The first way is to support us on Patreon. If you like what we do here and want to help us take it further and get all kinds of extra content, give us money at patreon.com/can'tdisappointpodcast.
If you don't want to bear the brunt of our debt, you can appreciate the fruit that we bear to you by going and leaving us a review on Apple Podcasts, Yelp, Google Chrome podcast reviewer, or whatever you can. And that's going to help us get seen. And the more people see us, the more that we want to be seen, and the more that we see you.
You can also hang out with us on social media every week over on Facebook, Instagram at Can't Disappoint Podcast, and Twitter at You Can't Disapod. Also, go ahead and give a subscribe and thumbs up to our YouTube channel, where we also post the podcast every week.
If you want to hold our hands as we walk down this community memory lane, you should shoot us an email over at can'tdisappointpodcast@gmail.com. You can send us your MVP, your favorite funniest moment, and trivia for the episode we're about to record, and we'll read it live on the air.
Yeah, we don't do the show live, but nice try, buddy. Thanks for supporting us, and let's get into this week's podcast.
Gentlemen, take this man to the infinite labyrinth of eternal ice.
Yeah! No! Take him to the police. He murdered someone. Take him to jail. You guys are weird.
How you doing, buddy? How you doing, beautiful? What a warm face to see in this mid-afternoon. How you doing, man?
Zach, in the words of Boys to Men, light the fire, pour the wine, girl, your wish is my command. We've come, Zach,
wait, that did not answer the very simple question of how are you, buddy?
Oh, I'm getting there.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm ramping.
Take me with you then. Jesus.
The fire's lit, the wine is poured. Not only will I make love to you, Zach, but also, as Boys to Men said, we've come to the end of a road. And if not the end of that road, we've come to a fork that we take that brings us back to the same road anyway, if not quite as paved.
Wow, honestly, that is a little bit deeper than I expected you to say that. Because yes, the episode of the podcast that we're doing right now feels like it has some finality to it.
Whoa, at least, introducing it to us.
But of course, like you said, it feels like we're taking a fork in the road that's leading us to a slightly less well-paved version of the same road that'll continue next week as it always does.
Yeah.
So it's not really the end of anything, even if it kind of feels
like
it.
We're still in this car. It has no
Well,
break.
It is the end of a season. It is the end of season 3 of Community. That's worth a celebration. We made it through another season of the show, and I think we did it in record time. We blasted through this thing.
Yeah, it seemed, like it was only yesterday, Zach, that we were talking about Dungeons & Dragons in season 2.
I know. Man, and I don't very often, but whenever I have a reason to look back at something we did, especially season 1, wow, what a journey. I feel like we've come a long way. We still have so far to go, but I don't know. Sure, we still do super awkward beginnings of podcasts, but they were really awkward.
I'm sure they were probably really bad.
Welcome to You Can't Disappoint a Podcast, everyone. The 3rd season finale. That's so exciting.
Yeah, we're here. Hello. Welcome.
We are here. Welcome. I'm Zach, and all press is good press. No press is bad press. Nice. No matter what you're hearing.
I'm Steven, and I didn't take anything from the episode to write down, but you know what, Zach? I just want to say that
no, I don't want to hear it.
It's been a great season doing this with you, pal.
It's been fine.
I'm Steven, and
welcome to the show, everyone. Steven doesn't got dick is what you got. Welcome to the program, everyone. We want to start off the show. You do it then. Who do we want to shout out at the beginning of the program?
We want to start out by shouting out our $10 and up patrons over at patreon.com/
You got this.
You Can't Disappoint a Podcast.
No.
Can't Disappoint Podcast.
Yeah.
Over at patreon.com/
Yeah, roll one more
Can't
time.
Disappoint
There you go.
Podcast. That would be Mary Baker Budisa, Brian Thurman, and Danny M. Lugo.
That's right. Struggle to remember your girlfriend's name of the
Yep.
three.
Yeah, thanks for doing all that you do. You keep the gears greased and the cockles warmed so that we can keep doing this.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and pass the cockles back over to me. I'm going to take the cockles back from you on that one. Great job.
All right, you're the cockle captain.
By talking about the Patreon, patreon.com/Can't Disappoint Podcast, where we do the live weekly You Can't Disagree show every week, where we weekly, kind of grease our guzzlets before we come talk about Community over here. And this week we had a very special guest of our Papa, Communities on Twitter. We had Matt from Communities on the pre-show this week, and it was such a nice time with Daddy. We had some great Daddy time. There was definite some, typical jokes to what you would expect. So if you want to hear some awkward talks with Pops, come on over to the Patreon. What did you think of our time with Daddy?
Well, I always love Daddy time. He
Yeah.
only has visitation with me every 17th, 43rd, and for some reason 53rd
Sure.
weekend of the
It's
year.
around the holidays.
Yeah, but yeah, the math never works out so that I see him more than twice. I don't know. Maybe it was like an error like on the judge's part.
I think
but it was great to get to
probably on
have
purpose.
some
On his
surprise
part.
time with him.
Yeah, it was fun. We played some games, some laughs were had, tears were shed. Finally, it was a real deep family awakening, and I think it's worth the $5 and up to go check that out. What's up, buddy? How's your week been?
It's been good. It's been busy. I'm getting ready for another event. The last few months and upcoming couple months at work are going to be pretty slammed and swamped, but it's all fun, all exciting, and I get to do something that I really enjoy. So it's all good.
Which
in
is
the proverbial
this
hood.
podcast.
Yeah. I'm all working towards where I can just retire from dancing and podcast full time.
Podcast about Community full time.
Yes.
That's funny. Tell me about your dance competition.
Well, the upcoming thing we have is not really a competition, as it is like a graduation celebration, because our students are kind of moving up to the next dance level. Some
Okay.
of them. So
Some of them.
some of them. The
All
ones
of
that,
yours?
all of mine that I wanted to.
You heard it here first, folks.
Yeah, the rest of you can work harder.
There you
no,
go.
but
Apply
so
yourself.
they have to basically demonstrate that they know how to dance.
Sure. They
some
have
of
to
their
do
stuff
all the
without
strokes.
Me. Yeah, exactly. Because normally they're dancing with me, but then they have to do it by themselves. It's a
Right.
little scarier. But if they can do that, that means they actually know it.
Without
and that I
your
actually taught
supple hands guiding
Exactly.
their hips.
Without my my thighs surrounding their thigh to then move their thigh.
I can't help
to where
but
it
think of
needs to
that
go.
episode of It's Always Sunny where they're having a dance marathon and whoever wins gets to have their bar. And Dennis is trying to some guy's wife.
Yeah.
And he's acting like he's teaching her dance. And he tells the husband to go off, and then he grinds with the wife. And he's like, I'm going to dip you real hard. That's whatever I picture when I think of you teaching dance.
What you should picture is, have you ever seen the 1-star reviews that Vice does on YouTube?
No. But
They're
I
really
feel like I
funny.
can get the idea, kind of.
They're super funny, and the guy is really awkward, which makes it
Mm-hmm.
even better. But he did one where he went and took a tango lesson from some guy
Mm-hmm.
that was 1-star reviewed on Yelp, and it was hilarious. And that's basically
Oh, maybe
what
I
do.
have. Is he I went to the lowest rated whatever in my
Yeah.
state and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Maybe I have seen that. I know what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. Well,
Very
let's
funny.
move into the momentous occasion. We've finished season 3 of Community, so let's talk about it. We're saying we finished it as if we're not still right at the butt crack of it. We've got just a little bit more to discuss, and today we're doing that, talking about Season 3, Episode 22, its introduction to Finality. It was directed by the prolific Tristram Shapiro, and it was written by Steve Basilone and Annie, I don't know how to say her last name very well, Mebane. As a team, they previously
Mebane.
wrote... Yeah, that's probably it. They previously wrote regional holiday music together, so that's a good one.
Nice.
And then in season 4, they write cooperative escapism and familial relations. That's the Thanksgiving / Jeff's dad episode. They
Okay.
wrote that one. And also with Maggie Bander, the two of them wrote Heroic Origins, which is like the season 4 superhero study group origin story episode. So we'll see a little bit more of them later. The episode originally aired along with all 3 of the final episodes of season 3 of Community, which is still so weird. What a strange block. I feel like I've needed the week in between to really digest each of these episodes. So for them to just be right next to each other, especially with, let me say, it originally aired on May 17th, 2012. Things like the beginning of this episode, Britta saying so many times, well, Abed's feeling down because Troy's with the AC repair. There's a lot of exposition for an episode that aired directly after the last one.
Mm-hmm.
Not that they would have known that when writing it.
I just feel like it would have been hard to think that, not saying that I didn't like this episode, but that this week's and last week's.
We start every episode with that. We immediately have a couple of things that we want to talk about, and we're like, yeah, that was really shitty. Not that we don't like the episode. We'll get into that later.
Yeah, and then we just continue to shit on it for the whole thing. But, like, the digital estate planning is so good.
Yeah. Yeah,
and
it was
then
really good.
Immediately after to have 2 episodes that are not as good.
Not as good. It'll be interesting to talk about what we feel about this episode. But before we get to it, let's do our trivia. I think I've got 5 questions for you.
Zach, I have been a studious boy, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 questions today.
Okay, so what? Do you want to give me 2, or do you want to do mine in order, so if you double any of them?
Exactly. I'll just start. I'll give 1, and then you go from there. What time is Jeff's biology final?
Ooh, I don't know. 3 o'clock is going to be my guess.
5 o'clock is what we're looking for. He's free from 3 to 4.
What is... Oh, okay. I remember that line now. What is Abed reading the novelization of? And towards the beginning of the episode when evil Abed first comes to talk to him.
Oh. I remember the line, but I can't remember what he said.
Chronicles of Riddick.
Ah.
I thought you'd remember that one.
Yeah, I should have, because I have seen all of the movies in that series.
I figured. That sounded like a Steven thing.
It is, definitely. An awful sci-fi movie starring Vin Diesel? Absolutely.
Not off to a great start.
The first movie wasn't even called, like, anything to do with him. It was called, like, Blackout or, like, Dark. Something to do with him being blind.
Riddick, First Blood 2, Part 3.
What kind of wrench is mentioned on the blackboard in the AC repair
Oh,
class?
man, I know. It's, like, written really fancily about, like, this is mine and this is what it means to me.
Yeah.
But I don't remember, so I'm just going to guess. Is it socket?
It is a limpkin wrench.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
And due to my lack of a male influence in my upbringing, I don't know what that is or if it's real.
Yeah, I'm sure they just looked at a list of wrenches and found the one that sounded the most fancy. There's probably a shit ton of wrenches or types of wrench.
There's a
what do I have
wrench,
next? Okay, a similar
there's
question. What was Weisstein Laybourne working on when he inhaled a lethal dose of Freon?
Oh, it was like a flooded pump or something.
I like the sound of that, but that is not the
Yeah,
answer we're
not
looking
right.
for at this time.
What is it?
It is a flow duct rupture.
Ooh, I knew there was a full and a in that.
Yeah,
bad
but
boy.
Unfortunately, that's not how the game works.
Not quite. Mitosis is when cells blank.
Oh shit. Mitosis is it when they separate?
I'll take it. I was looking for divide to finish the quote, but
I
I'll
didn't
take
remember the
separate.
quote, so I had to think if I actually knew what it was or not.
Yeah.
What does Evil Abed raise Britta's darkest timeline meter to in the Dreamatorium? What's the top number we see in there?
12%.
Yep.
Nice. More on him later. Which 2 outfits did the dean
Good
ask
tease.
the courtroom to choose between?
Judge Judy or Judge... Ooh, I can't remember the second one. What was it?
It was Judging Amy.
Judging Amy. Okay. Wow.
Which I've
Idiot.
never seen, but I know it
Stupid.
exists.
Okay, my next question for you, my friend. Or is it your turn? Did we just do the meter?
I just did
or-
Judging Amy. It's you.
Okay. My next question for you, what is the setup to Pierce's courtroom joke?
Oh, it's a I know it.
Okay, well, that doesn't help.
I don't remember the first word, but I'll come
Okay.
back to it. A blank and a Jew
Yeah.
walk into a Chinese bar,
No.
Chinese restaurant,
No.
Chinese hairdresser,
No.
and there's a gay something. What is it?
An Irish
An Irish
and a Jew. Pierce just says an Irish
Oh,
and
wow,
a Jew
that's- Ooh.
walk into a Chinese laundry with a gay
Laundry.
duck.
The gay duck. Yeah.
You got like 50 to 60% of that, though, so not terrible.
I have a real thick one
Okay.
for you that, if
I like it
answered
thick.
perfectly, would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.5 correct answers to it.
Let's hear it.
If you can get 4 to 5, if you can
Okay.
get 4.5,
Just
I'll
say
give it to you.
it. Just say it.
What things does evil Abed compare Britta to?
Okay, so the pop culture ones. Well, Jim Belushi at the end. Was it Back to the Future 3
Yes.
and RoboCop 1? Or was it 2?
2.
Then I'm trying to remember what he said just before that. Because I almost wrote these down, but I stopped. You're like the Britta of psychiatrists. Was that one of them? Or he uses the Britta turn of phrase. I'm maxing out. Well, give me some of the rest
It's
of them.
okay. So he says that she is every kid on the playground that didn't get picked on.
Yep.
She is a business casual potted plant. She is human white sail. VH1.
I don't know what that one means.
RoboCop 2. I don't either.
VH1.
Yeah.
That was on the tip of my tongue.
RoboCop 2, Back to the Future 3. Then he says that she's like the center slice of a square cheese pizza, but then takes it back because that would be good. Then calls
would be
her
good.
Jim Belushi.
Well, I did what I could, Steven. I've got one more question for you, and it's got a little bit of girth to it, too.
Ooh.
So we'll see how you do when the girth is turned your direction. What are all the future flash forwards at the end of the episode? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-ish.
There's 6? Okay. I'm going to go with the easy ones that I know for sure first.
Okay, let's hear it.
Shirley and Pierce at the opening of the sandwich shop.
Yes, that's number 1.
There was Starburns.
Yes.
There was Jeff Googling his father.
Yes.
There was Abed and Annie taking down the Dreamatorium.
Yes.
Now, are you including the whole scene in that apartment as one?
Kind of, yes.
Yes, okay.
Yes.
So there's 2 different ones.
Because
there
you're talking
was-
about Abed putting it back together.
Yeah.
That I put... Yeah, go ahead. See if you can come up with anything else.
I've got...
I think you've got 2.
Yeah, I have 2 left. Trying to remember what Britta was doing.
That wouldn't get you an answer.
Ah, okay, then that's why I don't remember it.
I believe you missed Jeff passing the test. When he's
Okay,
looking
yes,
for
I
his
did miss
score.
Jeff passing the test.
And you missed Dean Spreck plotting while
with the
Chang's
little
in the
tank.
vent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but overall you did good. That was my last question. Do you still have like 1 or 2?
I have 2 more.
Go ahead. Let's see.
For you.
Let's hear it.
We've got... What temperature do each of the sun chamber sides get up to? What is their maximum
Oh,
temperature?
shit. Okay, well, I know Troy's max is like in the 90s, like 94.
I will give that one to you. It was 95.
Okay.
And then when it starts to go down, it goes immediately to 94.
Okay. The max out of the other one, it's like 142. What was it? 4.
Close.
144.
145.
Okay. I
If
did
you were
okay.
within 2, I would have given that one
Shut
to
the
you, but I'll
fuck
give
up,
50.
Steven. I did fine.
And then how many views does Leonard's video have at the end?
Oh, man. I saw that one of the ones next to it had like 1,000-something views. I don't know what the
4
current
cheese
video
pizza
had.
one is a hit.
So like 400 and something?
It was 740, but it was
Okay.
he did well on that video.
Well, nice. Good round of trivia. You
Yeah.
you really showed your prowess this time, Steven.
Sure
Really
did write
proud
some
of you.
stuff down.
And let's move on to what we were sent in this week. It's season finale. We got our email bag just stuffed full.
No, we've got 4 emails this week.
Just
Zach. I'm
super
very
stuffed.
excited.
A whopping 4.
Well, it's a very small bag. We still
Yeah.
use like a Hotmail offshoot.
It's one of the smaller Ziploc baggies.
I'm going to read this first one. The subject is Taylor the Tool Time Guy / Insane Podcast
Tim Allen, I'm not really a huge fan of you, but I appreciate the attention you're bringing towards us, Mr. Allen. Thank you.
It says, all right, so I snuck an early listen to the beginning of this week's show because I wanted to see if y'all were still reading emails at this point. Insert Tim Allen noise here. I don't know. Is that
it's more
it?
of a, I didn't want. It's more like that. Yeah.
I gotcha. I finished season 1 in between these emails, so now I have 2 weeks to finish all of season 2/3. I'm a brewer, so lots of time for podcasts while
That's
cleaning
cool.
the brew house and waiting for various liquids to heat up.
I want to say, though, there's not really that intense of a time crunch on it, man. Really glad that you love the show. Really glad that you want to catch up. We'll be here, dude. You can take your time. I'm worried about your mental health if you go through that many so fast.
That's a lot of us in a short period of time.
That's a lot of us. I have trouble with the 2 hours a week.
Yeah, it's too much for me, honestly. I check out about halfway through for about 15 minutes. Gotta take a break.
Right.
Trivia, what were the sidebar etiquette rules for the Greendale court?
No idea.
Be nice to Shirley. I don't know.
I have no idea.
That was like one of the things he said to him.
I
don't know if that's what he's talking about.
I don't know. Sorry,
MVP.
Buzz.
Buzz.
Yeah, I'm going to start calling him Buzz.
Nice. Is Tim Allen doing the voice for Buzz in the new movie?
No, it's because it's not Buzz Lightyear. It's like the guy that Buzz Lightyear, the toy, was based on or something. It's like Chris Evans, I think.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh, is it actually Chris Evans?
I think so.
That's funny.
Or Chris Hemsworth.
Oh,
I
I'd
think
like
it was
that
a Chris.
better. But I don't
know.
think Chris Hemsworth, 'cause he's Australian.
Chris Pine? It was definitely a Chris. I think it
Chris
was...
Pine was in Star Trek, so that would
There you
track.
go. One of the Chris's.
MVP.
Well, what else does Chris have to say?
goes to Britta. Britta does a
Okay.
fantastic job dealing with the emotions evil Abed hits her with. Love her. Same. Best moment. Evil Abed trying to motion Jeff over to the bone saw that's plugged into a 3-foot cord. The body language is hysterical.
funny.
That was funny. And then he says, I'll sneak a peek next week
Naughty
again
boy. You're
to
so
listen.
naughty. Chris, come on.
To listen to the response, then dip back out again. No spoilers, but apparently y'all have a Patreon now. Man,
Yeah, we've
y'all
done
grow up fast.
All kinds of shit, Chris. We talked to Joel McHale. I don't know if he's gotten there yet. That'll be
Was
a fun
that
one.
in season 1?
No, that was like near the beginning of season 2.
Wow. Wild. Man, y'all grow up fast. Keep up the great work, and I'll be seeing y'all again soon. See you soon, Taylor.
Chris, how are you seeing us?
He's a video watcher. He goes to the YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah, send us a pack of beer.
Honestly, yeah, if we can get some beer out of this. I know Steven and I sound about 14, but we're both men in our mid-20s.
It's true.
Wink. Steven's
thanks
like,
for
I'm
writing
a
in."
professional dancer. And I'm like, I'm an astronaut.
dance class. Football playing king of space.
Oh, man.
Next up, we've got an email from our good old buddy Nate the Great. Hey there,
Nathan.
Nate. Nathan for you, Nathan for us. Yeah, nice. Hey guys, it's Nate. I think it's a
What's
pretty
up,
good
man?
episode, and
Okay.
Sorry, that made it sound weird. Nate's not weird. Let me read it right.
Yeah, Nate's not.
I
was
think
not
this
classic
is
Nate.
a pretty good episode, and it works well as a finale. Now that's classic Nate. I think that the darkest timeline stuff is a little meh, but it's definitely better than the way it's handled in season 4, which is always a plus.
I will drink
You know
to
what,
that.
Nate? That is a great.
I will drink
I
want
want to clap for Nate.
I
That
will
was great.
drink some of Tim Allen's free beer to that one.
I thought John Goodman was a good addition, and the way the AC repair annex was so cultish was really entertaining.
Yeah.
I also loved seeing Rob Corddry's character again. Speaking of Rob Corddry, I just want to pause Nate's awesome email for a moment to apologize to Rob Schraub. I recently listened back to that podcast,
Oh, no.
and I was being a silly boy, and I was silly to make fun of your name, Rob Schraub. Just because Rob Schwab would be a more realistic name, and Rob Schraub sounds like something that somebody who's
Man.
making fun of you would say.
One of the most
does not
classic
mean-
moments of the entire podcast was Steven stating how he could say it if it was Schwab.
I can, because Schwab is a name.
No, you stop explaining it, though, because you know that it's wrong.
Yeah. All right, Rob Schraub, come on the
Come
show.
on the
Let's
show.
talk about it. We'll fight it out
Yeah.
like men. Or women. Fight it out however you want.
We'll be like, hey, Rob, we'd love to talk to you. Please don't listen to our show first.
Back to Nate. Not only did he say that he loved seeing Rob Corddry's character again, but this is an episode I didn't remember liking, but after a couple of watch-throughs, I've surely changed my mind. I think my favorite funny moment would have to be when Dennis, he was for sure on coke or another amphetamine,
Yeah.
was announcing the rules to the Sun Chamber duel, and the dean hitting his fresh tattoo on the corner of the table.
Yeah.
Right? How come no one questions Abed with the bone saw? MVP would probably be Troy due to fighting to change the AC repair annex despite being released from it. Anyways, rant over. Good episode, excited and scared to revisit the next season with your commentary on it.
Me too.
P.S. Did you see the cameraman in the Mirror of the Starburns clip? Just noticed it while writing this. I
Wow.
You gotta
Good
peek for
catch,
that.
Nate. Classic. Nate.
Classic
We'll have to watch
Nate.
for that one.
Trivia, what is this episode's Shut Up, Leonard?
I know about your crooked wang.
Mm-hmm. It's a great one. 2, what does the board say in Troy's AC repair class?
Well, you mentioned
this
the
is
type
my
of
Lumpkin wrench. There are many Lumpkin wrenches like it, but this one is mine. That, yeah, whatever the rest of it said. What does Troy call RC repair school? I'm assuming he means AC repair school.
RC
don't
repair
know.
would be much more fun.
Yeah.
I don't know either. This is a trade school with a 2-year degree. Is that the part you're talking
Boom,
about?
nicely done.
He murdered someone.
What is Abed reading while trying to ignore evil Abed? Oh, I know this one.
Let's
It was
hear
the
it, buddy.
novelization of the Chronicles of Riddick.
Yes.
Which would be interesting because that was the second
The
movie.
Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
You know, in that movie, the reason why he has like superpowers,
Huh?
he's basically Daredevil.
I
but
know
on
nothing
an
about
Alien.
it.
He like wears those goggles because he's like, I have these special eyes. But it's really because when he
God.
was born, his umbilical cord got wrapped around his throat, and all of a sudden now he like is Daredevil, but he's not like blind. He can just like see at night or something. I don't know. It's weird.
Did you see the meme that was going around about the like Instagram post that Vin Diesel posted of him and The Rock?
Oh, I didn't see the memes. I just saw the post, and I thought it was hilarious. It was like, "You're my brother. My kids call you
Your
Uncle
destiny
Rocky."
is to do. Your destiny is to do Fast and the Furious.
You must.
10,
I
and
made a
then
promise
hit the
to some
finale.
guy that I'd make 10 of these motherfucking movies, and you're gonna be in it because that's your Ohana, that's your family.
I feel like he'll do it, right?
Yeah, I didn't think that he made a whole spin-off movie about them. I don't think The Rock is turning down a lot of roles. R-O-C-K Rock.
Oh man.
I saw a really, really, really funny clip. It was on TikTok, and it like started as like a scene from the Hunger Games, and then like the line like bled perfectly into The Rock rapping, and it was
Oh,
really,
no.
really funny.
Thanks for that one, Nate.
Number 5. What poster is hanging in the room where the semi-mock trial happened besides a picture of a trial and is next to the Greendale flag? I don't know what it says. I saw there was something there.
There's one that's like and mock justice for all. I don't know if that's the one they're talking about.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Nate, classic Nate. Nate gave answers the whole time.
Let's
We didn't
hear
even
'em.
know. First one, we got it. Shut up, Leonard. I heard about your crooked wang. 2, this is my Limkin wrench. There are many like it, but this one is mine. My Limkin wrench without me is useless. My Limkin wrench is part of me. Nice. And you nailed it. Hit the
Wow.
nail with the hammer,
Great.
Zach. It's a trade school. It's a 2-year degree in boxes that make rooms cold.
I did
Number
that.
4,
Wow.
the novelization of the Chronicles of Riddick. And Zach, I think maybe for the first time we've gotten all of somebody's questions correct.
What
Because
was
number
it?
5, mock trial poster that reads Greendale Court, mock justice for all.
Hell yes.
Well done. Well done. Well done. All right, next up from
To us or
our...
to Nate? Are we saying thanks to Nate, or are we just patting ourselves on the back?
We're patting ourselves.
Okay.
Thanks, Nate, for the great email.
Yeah, stay
You
out of
rock.
this, Nate.
Yeah. Have a beer on us.
Courtesy of Timmy Tim, who will hear this in about a year and a half.
Hi guys, I say underrated a lot, but this is from our dad. Hi guys, I say
Somehow
for
I
those
knew.
who don't know is communities on Twitter.
They know.
Hi guys, I say underrated a lot.
Even if this is their first episode they've ever heard, they know.
This episode has
We
always
make it
been
clear.
one for me. It has a lot to do, sure does, and does it nearly perfectly with a winger speech to bring us home. My MVP is Jeff. He carries it through. Have a great one, guys. Communities, Matt.
Thanks, Matt.
Question
Love
number
ya.
1. What is Abed reading when he talks to evil Abed? The novelization of Chronicles of
Old
Riddick. We
news.
got that. Yeah. Number 2, what judge outfits does the dean need help deciding on?
Judging Amy or judging Judy?
And number 3, what insults does evil Abed use to shut down Britta? Now, according to him, he does have one that I did not have in mind, but I don't know how I feel about that. I suppose it was a different question than mine. I said, what does he like compare her to?
Yeah.
He just says, what does he insult her? He does say that she's average before saying the other things. that I
I
said.
could see why that wouldn't. It's part of the same line, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good for you, Dad. Well done. Show
But not
up
in
your
a
boy
good way
again.
like the other one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Think about what you've done.
Thanks, communities, for writing in. We just saw you a bit ago, and you said, I sent an email, so thanks for telling the truth. Unlike when you said, I'll be there for your next birthday, son.
Yeah.
Next email is from our good old pal at Peep Reviews.
Another friend that we hung out with on the pre-show.
It's true. And they say, hey, young fellows, how's it going? I'm still kicking, so that's good, right? Glad you're still kicking, Peep Reviews. What does Jeff keep repeating from his biology book? Mitosis.
Mitosis.
Talks all about it. What store is in the cafeteria other than Shirley's Sandwiches?
Ooh. Well, I don't think the coffee shop's there anymore. I don't know.
No.
I
I'm
don't
going to guess Walmart. What type of wrench is mentioned on the chalkboard?
And the Walmart has a Subway.
Exactly.
Uh,
that's the
The
kicker.
fuzzy lumpkin wrench.
It's the Limpkin.
The Webkin.
The
Webkin
Webkins.
wrench.
Shout out to Webkins.
I guess. Come on the show.
Yeah, please.
Today's show is brought to you by Webkins.
Zach and I are the only people that still pay for it, but
Yeah.
we're there.
Yeah.
Hello, Abed. Ready to get therapized? Is that what Britta says?
Is that a question?
Yeah. It just says, hello, Abed. Ready to get blank.
Therapied.
Yeah, maybe it was therapied, not
I don't know.
therapized. What 2 judges does Dean Pelton refer to? Judy and Amy. What are a couple things that evil Abed calls Britta? We've been through this. Gosh, how many winds
Keep
are
up.
there? There's 5. There's north, south, east, the one they won't tell you about.
Lily is literally in the other room, so they can like hear us like, damn it, they're answering that one already. like they give a shit.
Yeah. Okay, that's all I got. Hope there are no repeat trivias. LOL. What
Joke's
a joke.
on you. There were a couple.
To be fair, they did have 3 new ones. 4 new ones. Wow. Good for you.
And that's the
Well
emails
done.
for the week, right?
Yeah, thanks. Oh, sent from Judge Pelton's dressing room. There's an image
Nice.
attached to this.
The honorable.
It's scary.
Yeah.
It's one of those like deep memes
Okay.
where it's like really distorted image and then like some
like a
words on top of
creepypasta.
it. Yeah, and it's this scary guy and it says Joe Mama.
That's all glare, but I can kind of
Yeah,
see
you
the guy.
can you see what you need to.
Oh yeah, sure.
Frightening, right?
Well, thanks everyone for emailing. That was a good old round of emails. Was it not?
Joe Mama.
Everyone, next week, well, 2 weeks from now, next week we'll be doing our season 3 roundtable, which will be a lot of fun. But following that, we're diving into the gas leak year. We're diving into season 4, and what a fun time that'll be to correspond with us. So go ahead and send us in some trivia, your episode MVP, and your favorite funny moments, if you have any, from History 101, the season 4 premiere. Excited to dive into it.
You know, I'm looking forward to it, Zach. It'll be interesting for sure.
In the meantime, Steven, it's time for the test of fits, of wits. Steven, it's time to see just how closely you paid attention to this week's episode. And your trivia showing maybe bodes well. What do you think?
Maybe. There's a lot of stuff that happens in this episode, so I don't know how much of it I'm going to be able to get through, so I kind of have to pick and choose what's important for me to say.
It is a pretty stuffed
But
episode.
I still got to slip some jokey jokes in there. So.
But let's get stuffed, each of us, as we find out, did Steven watch the episode this week?
Did Steven watch the episode this week?
My friend, you have 20 seconds on the clock. You know the drill. Are you ready?
I think so.
3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, bye-bye, Subway. Get out of here. Peach and Shirley are fighting for control of the business. They want to sign. They want to own it. Leonard's got a crooked wang. Jeff has to pass a biology test. Evil Abed is therapized by Britta because she wants him to be better. Troy's in AC repair school, and then the dean of AC repair school dies. And then there's a fake trial to see who gets the cookie company. I mean, the baking sandwich cop. And then Troy
Stop.
fixes it.
Oh, that was bad, man. The cookie company sandwich cop?
Sandwich cop! I kept thinking of cookies, man.
Oh, man. Oof. That's funny.
Not ending on a high score, but...
Let's see. Yeah, that was surely fun, but it was not a great representation of the episode. That one's going to get a C. Let's move on right away to something about the episode that we would give more than a C. Our favorite, funniest moments. I wrote down 2 things, and they've actually both already been mentioned by people.
Okay, you say yours first then,
Okay.
and then I will not mention them when I go through mine.
Well, my first one was Evil Abed, who shows up to the courtroom trying to cut off Jeff's arm, and the way Danny plays off the length of cord and how no one in the courtroom really pays any attention to him was really funny how that was played off. And the other one is when the dean bumps himself. He's like, right on a fresh tattoo.
Yeah, the
Super
blind
funny.
justice, so funny. I had a couple other ones. Geez, Dennis, are you on coke? When he was like announcing the AC thing, that was funny. That whole scene was pretty funny.
That was pretty funny.
I also, for some reason, the second time I watched it, really laughed at when Pierce is like in the library behind those really weird cutouts of books and is like, I knew that you were trying to get it. And
I
he's, like,
never
acting like a
watched
toddler.
close enough. Is it really obvious that he's standing there before
I
he's
always
standing
forget
there?
until he
Yeah.
jumps out, so I don't know. Maybe it was a good disguise.
That's
and then
so silly.
I also appreciated the Dance Moms joke. about
Okay.
Britta, just because I watched a lot of Dance Moms.
Because you watch trash like that all the time.
That was funny too. But overall, I thought this episode did have some funny stuff in it. It had some not funny stuff, but it was funny overall.
Steven's review of the episode. It had some funny stuff. It had some not funny stuff, but it was funny.
And that's your show.
Let's
Thanks, guys.
dive right into what we thought about it. This episode is the season finale of a season that feels like it's already had a couple season finales, and it's possibly the series finale for the show at this time. When they made this episode, I think they thought there was a very solid chance that they would not be coming back for a season 4. And I think the network even said, hey, could you make this one a series finale if you need it to be? It had a lot to do, and I think it pulled it off pretty well, but I do feel like they got way too bogged down in all the details for it to be a successful send-off either for the season or for the series. It felt like all of the writing was there, but a little bit of the heart was missing. I'm not sure. What did you think?
It's impressive that they were able to fit 3 like distinct plot lines into one episode, especially with them having very little crossover. I mean, yeah, Abed goes to the courtroom to like, but that's a very short part of that whole thing.
Yeah.
It's almost like there's 2 A plots and a B plot
Yeah.
in this one, and that's tough to pull off. I think they do a pretty good job of it.
And then to make the last couple minutes into this could be the end of this series.
Exactly. I think that they did an overall good job. I don't think it's the best episode or like the tightest, done episode of the whole show, but I think for what they felt that they needed to do in 21 and a half minutes, they did a good job of it.
I certainly liked this better than last week's episode, which felt like it also could have been a season finale for season 3. I thought this episode did a better job of closing up some things and still opening up some things, even if they thought maybe this would be the last episode. And let's talk about that for a second before we dive into the episode in whole. If this was the series finale of Community, how would that feel? bad, right?
Bad. I am a big not fan of ending shows when you don't know if you're going to get a next season. And this happens in anime sometimes, very famously pretty recently in
And
a very
you can't
bad
really
way.
hate it on the show because a lot of times they don't know.
No, but here's what I was going to say. I don't like when they're like, okay, this is the last episode, so here's a bunch of still frames or flash forwards of stuff that we wanted to do in the show but didn't do.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's what they did here, but that can happen sometimes. I think if this were the last episode, I would not have thought of it as such a great finale. But they also probably weren't told, hey, this is going to be the finale until right before they were going to make the episode. So I'm sure it wasn't like they planned this episode to be exactly this way from day one.
Well, let me say, people have a lot of problems with season 4, and a lot of people have problems with seasons 5 and 6.
Mm-hmm.
And even though this is the end of like the golden quote unquote era of Community, I feel like not just would the finale be looked at less well, I feel like the series would kind of be looked at
totally
a little bit lesser than if this had been how the show ended, because it's at the end of this kind of, for me, rocky season that never really felt like it knew exactly what it was doing or like it was really grounded in much on the inside of all the silliness. I think we would have talked about Community as that show that had like a pretty good season and then like great episode, like a show that like, oh man, what could have been. I think having the next 3 seasons are what make this such a full show, a show that's worth delving into the way that we're delving into it. I think this being a series finale for the show would have been a huge mistake.
I agree. I think it would have really soured the whole image of the show. I mean, not like to the point where like, oh, Community's a bad show, but it would definitely not be regarded as highly as it is.
For being called Introduction to Finality, even considering the couple of things that are in the end of the episode, there isn't a lot of finality to it at all, other than maybe just the idea that Jeff is kind of giving up his past life to embrace what he has kind of become over his time at Greendale. But the episode has so many story elements that it's going through that's not really tied in wrapping the show up. It's tied in wrapping this season up. That it doesn't really feel like a series finale. And then in the end, they start playing like the theme song music, and you're supposed to feel emotional, but it still just kind of feels like, I don't know,
Totally.
like a rush. But I did like a lot of things about this episode, so why don't we just dive into it and talk about it? The last time we had seen the study group, I had to actually think about it for a second, was they got... I don't know, Greendale has so quickly gone back to the status quo.
Totally normal, yeah.
After the whole Chang thing. I'm a little confused. It looks like some time has passed and it's the end of the summer now.
It's the end of...
Because they had to retake biology. And Jeff says in the beginning, we've been retaking biology all summer. Does this mean we're about to the beginning of the next school year?
Yeah, I think so.
I think that might have some stuff to do with what makes this feel like a weird season finale too, is because Community has such ingrained, the season is a year of school.
Exactly.
So the season finale, even when it's not been great season finales like the first season, it has that sense of finality because it's like, we'll see you next year, we'll miss you. And that's kind of missing from this episode. Maybe that's part of why it feels off.
The Dean's great in this episode. It's great to have him back in the regular capacity.
It is great. And they mentioned in the commentary that this scene in the beginning when he's in the construction outfit, that Jim Rash the same day had a f***ing Oscar lunch that he had to go to because he was up for an Oscar or had won an Oscar at this point. And they said that he was so sincere and earnest about that's why he had to cut out a little early, that he wasn't just like, oh yeah, I've got an Oscar lunch. That he's like, could we maybe just get my stuff done really fast? I've kind of got this thing that I've got to go to.
That's
I
outrageous.
think that's really wholesome.
That's great.
Yeah. And also the fact that he's going to try to lobby for his movie and a couple hours before he's dressed up like a village person. The episode starts with the study group getting close to a final biology test, and also the dean saying that Subway has left Greendale, and it leaves an empty place in the cafeteria for Shirley to open her sandwich shop, which kind of starts off the stuff that's going on in this episode. Also, I see the other store that's in the cafeteria is pencils and such.
Pencils and such.
And I think that's always been there. I just haven't paid it that much attention. Shirley Sandwiches is slated to open, which is great for Shirley, but it kind of brings up a really easy conflict between Pierce and Shirley, but one that I think works in this episode. Honestly, it might be my favorite plotline of the episode, even though I like the silly stuff in Troy's plotline. I think it just makes sense that Pierce would be so willing to help Shirley to get his name on something and they just want to take complete credit for it as soon as it's actually happening.
Yeah, here's my one issue.
Yeah.
And I only notice every time this part comes up now after seeing it a few times.
Yeah.
Even if it's just one line, they could still both sign the paper so that their names were legally on it. It's not. And
I mean,
this
that
isn't
is
for
probably
control
true.
of the company. This
There
is just
are
signing
a couple
the
of
dean
things
is
about
gonna,
this episode. Obviously, we'll get to why is Jeff being a lawyer against a real lawyer? Why is a real lawyer there for the mock trial?
for in Greendale Court.
Yeah, there's a few things about this episode, but you kind of just got to go
Sure.
with it.
It is what it is. We do what we
But
can.
you can't let the molehill become a mountain because we don't have the alpine costume for it.
Heyo.
Let's do a little Chevy watch. I thought this was a decent Pierce episode.
Yeah, Chevy was active. He was alert.
He was racist.
Maybe, do you think that, when did they find out that Dan was not going to be there anymore?
We've talked about that. It was definitely after the filming of this episode.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Of these episodes. Cause
Maybe he had an inkling and he was so excited that he...
I think maybe it happened shortly before they went back to work for the next season. I don't exactly know how the timeline worked out because I don't think they would fire him while you're wrapping production on what he's been the head of. I think it would be...
You would hope.
I don't know. It had a lot to... There was a really infamous incident where Dan on his podcast played off of his phone a voicemail where Chevy was cursing him out and calling him an asshole and saying a bunch of mean things to him. And Dan played it to kind of make fun of him. And
Yeah.
it was funny. But then it made Chevy want to leave the show and it ended up leading to Harmon getting fired. So Chevy wouldn't.
Really? Is
But
that
then-
why they fired him?
I think it was one of them needed to go type situation.
And they picked to keep Chevy Chase?
Well, to the network, this show's never been as successful as they wanted it to be, and at the time, he was the most recognizable cast member. But it was a really bad trade because he's already so checked out from the series at this point, and that is something that does not go away in season 4. He's even more checked out in season 4. There's several episodes where the only Pierce we see is his stand-in.
Wow.
So I don't know. It's a bad trade all around. I don't know. How did we get to that? Jeff's really focused for the first time in a while at the beginning of this episode that he really needs to pass this test because after this he can finally get... Is that what it is? Just after this he can finally get his law degree back?
I don't think he's
Or is
done
it just
yet,
that
is
he's
he?
got a renewed focus on it?
Maybe.
What do you think of Jeff's arc in this episode?
I don't mind Jeff in this episode. I think he's actually trying to be focused on school, which is probably good because he does want to get out of there at some point. As much as he loves them and loves, his friends.
Yeah.
I think he's well aware that he needs, especially now that he just got back at Greendale. I'm sure he, for a second had a thought to himself where he was like, I need to finish school so I can get my degree and actually go back to work at some point. I can't keep
This is a
doing
TV
this.
show, so now we see them as a family and not as classmates. You're like, how could you do that? But of course, they all should be doing that at some extent.
Yeah.
And I thought his involvement in the case as we go on further down is earnest and honest of Jeff. And
Yeah, I liked Jeff throughout this episode.
it happens to involve someone that he has bad blood with, and he can use that to his advantage. Really isn't because of something that he manipulated. It's a good episode for Jeff.
And I think it's easier to like Jeff when he's paired directly against Rob Corddry playing someone who we're not supposed to like.
Yeah. Now we're going to cut into Abed section of this episode. Britta had just briefly mentioned that she's going to be doing some therapy for Abed. He's really having a hard time with Troy being gone. And this episode goes deeper and a little more non-linear with the darkest timeline of it all. Where evil Abed manifests and kind of claims that he's going to take over the new timeline. And the show still does decent enough work in this episode with this all being manifestations of what Abed's going through. But I'm pretty sure in season 4, it's just real.
I think it's just real in season 4.
And here it's just Abed. And so it works for me here, but just because I know we're so close to that, I'm cringing ahead of time.
It makes me dread every time I see evil Abed, because that means that we're getting closer to having to see evil Jeff and Annie all the time. Like,
yes.
Not all the time, but like, and that's
too often.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it sucks because Danny does maybe I don't know, he does some of his best work of the season in this episode.
It's true. He was great. I think that there were a few really strong performances in this episode, and his was definitely one of them.
I think, better than ever. Yeah, I think because it's hard to say because of Virtual Systems Analysis earlier this season was such a standout episode. But I think better than ever, we see the difference between Abed and this evil Abed that's manifested.
Yeah.
I feel like his body language and just his energy when he's playing the two different characters is really, really strong in this episode. Evil Abed just appears, he's going to cause some trouble, and then we get our last theme song sequence of the season.
Wow.
I can't believe we've made it to the end of a season so fast.
Isn't that crazy, Zach?
It is pretty crazy. So crazy. And just imagine how fast season 4 is going to go, and then 5, and then 6. They're each only 13 episodes.
You know,
we'll be back to selling our body on the street to get a couple Podbean listens before we know it.
The good old days, Zach.
After the theme song, we get Troy in a AC repair class, and the AC repair plotline and the history of the AC repair school at Greendale is one of the things of this season that, based on the other things I haven't liked because they've been too broad and cartoony, you would think that this would be one of them. But I really enjoyed just about all of it.
I did too, and I don't remember liking it as much as I do now when I watched it before, but I really enjoyed it.
And I don't think it's just because I love Troy, because honestly, I don't know, what's so funny about it is more the world that they've built up and how far, especially in this episode, that it goes. They're having a class, and it's a very, I don't know, there's always kind of allusions to Good Will Hunting whenever they do these scenes with Troy. That's not exactly what this is, but Troy is finally in the place where he can belong and be appreciated for his talents, but it bores him because it's not challenging him, and he misses his friends, and there's a funny little scene around this. Donald does really good work in this episode, too. Weisstein Laybourne shows up to call Troy to his office, or to a different area to talk about some things, and I thought it was pretty noticeable that all of the shots of John Goodman were, like, inserted.
Yeah, I think that he had very few, if any, scenes that he was actually with anyone else.
It's the scene we're about to see with Troy.
Is like, yeah, that's like the only one.
And that's pretty much it. Well, he's a very busy man.
Yeah,
they're lucky that they got him at all. But now I wonder if they had gotten someone else to play this part, if it would have played a different role in the season. Because
I wonder,
we talked
because
about this. You
John
can only
Goodman
do
is
so
so
much
great.
with John Goodman.
Yeah.
He's so busy.
I kind of like how much or how little he's used, though. As much as I'd love to see more John Goodman.
A really shadowy figure.
Exactly. If he was in it all the time, as often as like the dean or something, he loses what makes him so appealing, I think, which is the mystery, the sense of overwhelming power, the amount
at
of people
this
under
community
him.
college.
Yeah, as the vice dean.
What's interesting, of all the things that season 4 decided to go full stop with, I don't think we get any more mention of the AC Repair School after this episode.
Not that I can think of.
Maybe in little references. I'm sure they'll probably mention it in the season premiere, like to write off Troy being there. But I think this is as far as they go with it, and I think they could have gotten a little more out of it.
Yeah.
John Goodman as Laybourne takes Troy through this kind of relic room with a bunch of things that represent the history of AC, including the Sun Chamber, which we'll get to in a really, what I think is probably one of the more inspired sequences of the episode. We'll get into that a little bit later. But here, John Goodman has this monologue explaining the idea of the one true repairman that was prophesized? That was prophesied long ago as this hero that would repair man and be the true repairman. And John Goodman's character always thought it was going to be him, but it's become clear that it's now Troy. Basically, they're setting up this kind of Jesus allegory. They'll bring it up more directly later that he's like, yeah, I'm kind of their Messiah now. He's the chosen one. And I'm just noticing now that I don't know the other character's name. The character
I was trying to look at his name tag and get it for one of my questions, couldn't.
The character that takes over the AC Repair School shortly shows up as Troy is being explained his destiny to tell Weisstein Laybourne that he's needed, and it's the incident that will end up getting him killed. Mm-hmm. John Goodman's delivery is stellar, is flawless.
So
on the true repairman will repair man. So good. Then we get back to Abed and Evil Abed. Abed is reading the novelization of Chronicles of Riddick and is trying to ignore his mental health and the trouble that he's having with Troy being gone and having to fend for himself and what he's seeing as Evil Abed. Mm-hmm. I think what does it a disservice is because it's only a third or a little bit less than a third of the episode, they can't quite put all of the character work and thought that they did into the entirety of Virtual Systems Analysis.
Yeah.
It kind of feels like this episode is like doing a couple of things that they've done before again. And it wraps up that story in a good way, but it's a little bit less captivating because it's not the first time you're seeing it.
Yeah, earlier when I said this episode had 2 A plots and a B plot, I think this feels like the B plot.
Sure.
Just because they didn't get to spend as much time here as everywhere else. And this is something that, with how well Danny's portraying this and performing it, it probably deserved a little bit more time and attention to really dive in a little
that's
deeper.
What's interesting because they kind of did it already, even to the point where Britta much plays the part in this episode that Annie played in the last episode where they did this. I feel like, and this is, I'm not going to try to rewrite it because I don't have a better idea, but I think they could have played around with what Abed was going through after Troy left temporarily.
Do a paintball.
Yeah, they could have done a paintball. They could have claymated something, but I don't know. I feel like they could have went a different direction with this, even if it was done really well and was maybe one of the better shot and better acted sequences of the episode. Yeah. I don't know. It feels just like we've seen it a little bit before. Meanwhile, Shirley shows up to Jeff, who's trying to study, and she's asking him to help in her issue with Pierce. And Jeff's the perfect person to ask, and he's a little off-put at helping at first because he actually is trying to study. It's so weird to see him be like that, but I kind of like that turn of the character, that he is trying to pass his classes.
Now, I feel like, though, maybe everyone else is not quite as stressed because they already took this class.
Meanwhile, as soon as Pierce shows up, we got to do a double take on that. As soon as Pierce shows up in the conversation, Pierce reveals that he's been hiding behind a replica of bookshelves so he can appear. What was the point? He could have just hidden behind the shelves.
Well, because he wanted to be able to pop out.
Yeah, you're right. No, the shot happens almost instantly. It cuts to him like as soon as he starts moving to do it. It's so ridiculous. That's pretty cartoony, and it's just this one little joke that as soon as it's done is just dropped. It was just a joke for a joke. It was very like Wile E. Coyote.
Yeah, I love Pierce's Chevy's acting here because he's literally acting like a toddler. He's like, "You signed that paper, I'll sue!" But he's so animated.
But he's actually a grown man with money who will sue.
He will, in fact, sue.
And again, like we mentioned, how the Greendale court makes no sense. The dean just says, we'll handle it in Greendale court 3 p.m., which can't mean anything. It's very clearly shown later as being a mock court. but Pierce is going to call his real lawyer and bring them to Greendale court. And the dean's just excited, and I get to dress like a judge. So Jeff really has no choice but to get involved. And he is really going to be like... He has his final at 5 o'clock, and he'll help win a court case, but he only has like an hour to do it. That's a good friend. That's a big commitment.
It is.
Britta shows up to therapize Abed, and shows up to Abed, who has the darkest timeline goatee on in the Dreamatorium, and shows up to have a conversation with him, to therapize him. It's very clear instantly that Britta, who I'm sure could go on to be a very successful therapist, is not prepared to deal with a patient like Abed.
Yeah, she just doesn't have the training or the experience yet.
He's kind of an advanced case.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, Troy is given the information that Vice Dean Laybourne has ingested a lethal dose of Freon and has died.
You know, Zach, sometimes you go to somebody's air conditioning unit in their backyard and you try and huff a little Freon, have a little fun time with yourself. Right. You bring a sock to keep everything safe.
Keep it all clean.
And sometimes you overdo it, and this is a real thing. So don't suck Freon without a sock.
Thank you.
A thick one.
The more you know.
Mm-hmm.
This kind of sets down the chain event. It's another trope that Community does quite well of Troy, who wasn't really taking all of this seriously. Now that he sees what's happening to it from the inside, he knows that he really has no choice but to get a little bit more involved. I like the priest that's just there for not really any reason.
He was there to just bless the body.
Yeah, but then
also,
I'm pretty sure he's there for the rest of the episode, like in the sun chamber and stuff.
He's around.
Yeah. Well, you like what?
The literal vice dean of the entire college dies,
and it's
on
not
campus.
News away from
Nobody
the
talks
ACU
about
repair
it.
school.
They're like, hold on, we got to figure out this lawsuit to see who signs this piece of paper.
Jeff is getting ready for the court when he is revealed that the person he's up against, the person that's defending Pierce, is Alan, his previous coworker, the person who got Jeff disbarred and sent him to Greendale in the first place. Look, Rob Corddry is one of those comedic performers that's so good at playing a character that's so unlikable.
Yeah.
And because of that, I don't like seeing Alan. I don't like that he's back. I do like that he's back. Rob Corddry does it really well. But it's another one of the things in this episode that kind of feels like something that we've seen before. I don't know that we literally needed that physical of a reminder for Jeff to be able to move on from his past life. I don't know.
Well, especially because the lawyer episode is not my favorite anyway.
I like that one
Rob
as far
Corddry
as it being like a real world, real life stake storyline. And it's got Annie chloroforming someone 3 times.
Yeah, I like that part of it, but I don't like Jeff in that episode. And that means it falls a little short for me.
Sure. So Shirley's concerned that this is going to be a conflict of interest for the two of them since they have this history. But Jeff has been dreaming for the day where he might get some type of revenge back on Alan. So it's good to see that at least here. I like the way that he's talking about stabbing him and then gets interrupted by the tango, Sundance.
Yeah.
And he learns that Alan and his firm are kind of milking, and it's very grotesquely explained to us with a physical miming of milking. They're just milking Pierce for all his money. They're hoping that he always has something to sue over so they can always get a little more money out of him.
Yeah.
Which is totally the type of thing Jeff would have been into 3 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
But things have changed.
He's a new man. Scout's honor, Sinead O'Connor.
I really like the moment when Leonard introduces the dean, and the dean shows up with his wig on, but no cloak. Garb?
Robe.
No robe. No robe left in the way. There's like the Honorable Dean Pelton resides, and he's like ah ha 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 as Eli is laughing as he walks on stage. Really funny. What do you think he actually went with, though? They don't show us. Do you think he went Judging Amy or Judge Judy?
I'll look at the robe. I know the Judging Amy, I think, has the zipper down the front, and the Judge Judy does not have a zipper down the front, so we'll see.
Okay. Cut back to Britta doing her absolute best against Abed, who is really going through something in the Dreamatorium. And Abed, I don't know how to really interpret this from... I don't know how to interpret Abed being so mean to Britta here.
Yeah.
As Abed is Abed going through some stuff, not a Darkest Timeline Abed. You know what I mean? Do you have any thoughts
exactly. I don't know. It's kind of tough, like you said, because I don't like when he's just mean to Britta, because he's really hard on her here.
And it's almost like he's trying to prove that you've got to take him seriously.
Yeah.
And he gets frustrated when people don't, so he goes too deep. I mean...
Well, but he's definitely not saying these things to her the way Abed would. He's
Yes.
saying it how evil Abed would. And I think that softens it a little bit in a good way, just because then it's not like Abed's being mean to Britta. He's being a different character. But reality, it's still him.
Yeah, I think for this storyline to work for me, I have to look at it from that perspective.
Yeah.
Or else all of a sudden this show is like a sci-fi show, and I just don't think it is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard to see. Like, Danny acts it really well, and Gillian acts against him really well in this episode.
Yeah.
The part when Abed is like, I'm running this now. Tell me about your parents. And Britta's, no. It was a really funny moment. Okay, so Troy walks back into, I don't know the character's name, but the guy who's taking over the AC repair school now. I like the line, Troy, you should be in the chapel right now. We lost a great man. Does that mean that Greendale has a chapel, or the AC repair annex
I think
has
the
a
AC
chapel?
repair annex has a chapel.
And
everything is in-house there. They're keeping everything there.
Troy is kind of putting together that something fishy is going on, that there's more to it, that maybe this was ill intent. Does this remind you of anything in particular? I feel like it's a reference to something that I don't get.
It's not from Good Will Hunting.
I know, but I just remember the very first time they ever showed Troy was good at plumbing. It was kind of a Good Will Hunting reference.
Yeah, I think
when he would walk
they
along
do stuff
and fix
like
something
this
that nobody else could.
In movies, but I don't know if it's referencing one in particular. Nothing's jumping out at me.
Yeah. And
also,
this is not right at all, but it almost has certain vibes from the end of Willy Wonka in the Chocolate Factory, when he's like at his desk and he's like, "You've lost. Good day, sir."
Good day, sir. Fair enough.
It's raining really hard out there, so I apologize if anybody hears raining and storming.
Drip, drop, drip.
It was a dark and dreary night.
Drip, drip.
Yeah, you don't need to do that because there literally is rain going on.
Drip, drop, drip, drop, drip, 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 drip.
So
That's
Troy gets asked to leave the AC repair school. At this moment, does that mean he's being kicked out of it, or does that mean that he is being released from being so tied to it?
He's being released in the sense that he doesn't have to stay there anymore, and he's being encouraged to leave. But also, I could see if that guy like became the new head of the AC repair school, but not the vice dean of the whole f***ing community college.
Yeah.
He is truly, his qualifications are AC repairman, even if he's a darn good one.
It doesn't seem like the other dean did anything else but that, though.
No, it's fair. But he had to get that power somehow in that respect. We go back to the courtroom, and Annie is taking the witness stand. What'd you think about the whole Denzel? I'd sell my baby to bump it with Denzel.
Alan is using a picture of Shirley's baby and an anecdote that she made about selling her baby on Craigslist. I don't know. It's very classic shitty lawyer just looking for anything to paint the person we're talking about as a bad person when it has nothing to do with the case.
Would you sell either of your cats to bump it with Denzel?
No, I love my cats way too much. I have great respect for Denzel, and sure, I could see how bumping it with the man could do a lot for me, both physically and emotionally, and career-wise.
Think about your career, Zach. Yeah. Think about the show. This isn't just for you.
Yeah. This for the podcast. I don't think I could sell one of my cats, but I'd break one of their legs off. Sure.
Okay. What if you could combine enough parts from them to make one cat, but then you still have two half cats left?
Yeah, and
but they're fine. Triples is best.
Anyway,
I saw a tweet, and it was talking about getting the vaccine booster, which if you're eligible to get your booster shot for the vaccine, go do that.
Yes.
But it was like triples is best. Triples is safe. And that was great.
I saw that too. That is funny. Triples is best. And if you're lying about the triples, you're lying about all the other stuff. So
it's true.
It has to be true.
Has to be true.
The courtroom sequence of this episode, even though it's a well-orchestrated courtroom sequence, it feels like it's taking away time from things that are a little more important in the season finale / series finale of Community.
I agree.
I think Shirley's sandwiches becoming part of Greendale would be a great piece to whether this is a season or series finale. I don't think it needed to dominate so much of the episode.
No, I think that you're right. This seems like something that unless it was going to have its own episode, which I do not consider this its own episode because it's sharing the duty with two other meaty plot lines, to some degree. I think that maybe I would be interested to see what an episode would look like, where the time spent on this were spent on the Abed and Britta / Dark Timeline one,
and even the Troy stuff. If it had a little, bit more
I wish
too.
the Troy had a little more too, and this were maybe treated as more of a B plot. But I think they have Rob Corddry there, so they want to use him.
I think it's literally just because they know they're doing something with this season finale that shows Jeff firmly deciding his Greendale life versus his lawyer life. And I feel like they just needed something to physically show that. They just really were stuck to that. And once they, add Rob Corddry to the storyline, it becomes a whole thing. I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting. And again, like we always say, I don't think this episode is bad by any means. If anything, I think it's a good episode.
Yeah.
But
it's not really the episode's fault that it's got so much that it's got to do, and that it loses a little bit of the heart in the process because it's just got so much it's got to do.
They have like an episode and a half, 2 episodes worth of potential storyline in these 3 that they're using here. It's just hard to cram it all into one and have it not feel like something is either shorted or getting a little too much attention.
And I think a big part of that was I don't think we needed to spend a whole episode on the Chang thing.
No.
I don't know.
I the only thing that I do like about the Chang thing is
Chang's
it gets
not
them
even
back.
A mention in this episode.
No, which would be weird considering he took over and overthrew the whole school, caused a bunch of people to not enroll.
Yeah, there's no what's going to happen to Chang next season, and there's no what's going to happen if this is the end. We see him in an event at the very end of the episode.
Yeah.
It's clearly that they didn't know what they were going to do to clean up what they did, so why did they do it?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Britta and Abed are still going through therapy, and really Abed is getting Britta is starting to hurt her feelings and get deeper into her psyche, and it's not going so well. This is the part where that's really mean. We were talking before he was being mean. This is when it goes from kind of being jokey mean to actually tearing her down with his words. And Abed is a person that's so good with words that I'm sure it cuts really deep, and Britta doesn't deserve this. He leaves to make this timeline the darkest and leaves Britta to think about what just happened. And here's another problem. After this point of the episode, all of the evil Abed stuff is still present in the episode, but becomes a lot lighter and a lot sillier. And there's no... I don't know. I think they should have either kept going darker with it, or they shouldn't have gone as dark with it as they did.
I think it switches to funny right away.
And it is funny.
Mm-hmm. I love the montage we'll get in a little while of him walking through the hallway,
smoking
doing
a
bad
cigarette,
stuff.
popping an unexplained child that's there with the balloon. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, Troy, he just knows that something is off and that he's got to do something. I like how he walks past a portrait of Weisstein Laybourne that literally just has a black sash over it to signify that he's died in the last
Which is
hour.
Hilarious.
And I think this is a point where he is, I don't know, he kind of just wants to get out of it entirely, but I think he also knows a little bit more than what he'd like to about what's going on, that he can't just run away entirely.
Yeah, I think he feels like he's got to do it. He's got this gift. And Troy is a good guy. I think especially in season 2, Troy grew into a leader and a hero.
3. He's been great in season 3 as well.
And I think that he is like, you know what? I'm going to step up and I'm going to do this because I can and I'm confident enough to do this on my own.
Honestly, Troy, from beginning of series to end of his arc on the series, does have a really great hero's journey of how he starts off kind of the fool and he grows and learns and stumbles and ends up going off on this grand adventure as a hero that they've been building him up as. It's pretty cool. I'm excited to get into season 5.
I am too. I really like season 5.
But meanwhile, we're in the court. I like how Jeff mentions for a second he didn't know that Pierce actually paid for everything. And if this was an actual court case, I think that would be your case.
Yeah, that would be done for.
And Jeff is like, what? You really paid for everything? I was kind of hoping, I didn't come prepared. It's pretty funny.
Here's what I'll say is also a little bit interesting about this court case.
Uh-huh.
Jeff and Adam, Austin.
You're making me feel weird
Aaron?
and not know it. No, it's not Aaron. It's not Aaron.
Alan.
It's Alan.
Alan. They're both trying to win over the people that are in the crowd.
But it doesn't seem like there's a jury. It's made very clear
it's just
that
the dean
makes the decision.
And I feel like maybe they could have
Jeff
spoken
could
a
have
little more
definitely
directly
played to the dean,
and
and
doesn't at
Alan
all.
could have played off of that.
And
that
I
would
feel
be
like,
funny.
yeah,
We should
I
have
think
written
that was
Community.
a missed opportunity.
Now we'll rewrite Community.
We'll rewrite it. Now we've got the plot lines to fill it in.
Yeah.
More Abed, less this
Yeah.
plot line. Yeah, perfect.
Couple paintballs fly in the room.
Yeah.
Throw in a Pulp Fiction.
There we go.
But Jeff, very quickly, even though he's playing to the crowd, he shows that, sure, Pierce paid for everything, but he's also the worst person that's ever existed.
Yeah.
Just has to say, does anyone know any jokes for Pierce to go right into an awful, deeply offensive to people of multiple group joke tirade that gets everyone real upset? And then, Abed walks through the school as evil Abed and, hangs up on someone's payphone call, pops a kid's balloon with a cigarette. I love that there's just a kid there with a balloon. And
Hilarious.
Ashes a cigarette in someone's coffee.
I am surprised that wasn't a trivia question. What Abed did on that little montage. That would have been...
I like this moment, too. We cut to the new Vice Dean being crowned in the AC repair annex. And I like this bit when they're like, we dedicate this to you in the name of the 5 winds, north, west. And after each one, it's like north, and everyone echoes north, west, west. And he's like, the one that we keep secret. And everyone else is like, and then south.
So funny.
I just thought it was a really funny bit. The crown's made out of like springs, and I think that's pretty cool too. But Troy shows up to save the day. The ceremony's a lie. The throne room is a waste of floor space. It's very Twin Peaks, the room that they're in.
Yeah.
I've never seen a Twin Peaks, but I know that
it's
there's
that
like
vibe.
the red room and the checkered floor.
Mm-hmm.
And they say here that Troy's no longer a student of the annex, so I guess he did get kicked out of it.
Yeah.
But Troy shows up to
I love how he
claim
says
his
this
destiny. And Troy, his line is beautiful. I'm the truest repairman. He says it so well. Really walking into his true destiny. And he walks in to challenge the man who's taking the crown in the sun chamber. So silly, but I really like it.
Mm-hmm.
I like this kind of silly for whatever reason way better than the Chang one last week.
Yeah, I agree.
Back in the courtroom, they're taking a recess, giving the dean enough time to change his outfits and everyone to kind of plan what they're doing. What happens here with Alan? He kind of threatens Jeff?
Yeah, he tells them, he's like, listen, don't actually try. Throw this case. Otherwise, you don't have a job when I get back. Which Jeff is kind of like blowing off. He's like, well, you're not the boss. The guy who likes me is the boss, and so I'm good. And then one joke about swimming with sharks later, we learn that guy's dead, and for some reason, Alan is now the head of the whole firm. He's the big boss in charge.
Wild.
So he at least in Alan's eyes, he holds Jeff's career in his hands. He's like, no one else is going to hire you. You're a disgraced lawyer who lied about his credentials. It's me or nothing.
And Jeff immediately is the type of person who's like, that and you. And he's learned that not only is he better than that now, he kind of sees that he was always better than that, and he'd be stooping down to a level that's lower than him to go back to it. And Jeff stews on that while the dean shows back up his blind justice and really whiffs it on Leonard's stenographer's table and right on a fresh tattoo. The way that the dean's just like, oh my God, oh, he really sold how much it hurt. After the commercial, it's time for the sun chamber. This was a really great moment. The guy who's explaining the rules has this very performative and it's very Simpsons-y to me. But,
it is, yeah.
But he's very dramatic about the rules, and then someone takes the microphone from him and is like, "This is serious. Are you on coke?" And he's like, "Of course there's rules. Here are the rules."
Yeah, it was so funny.
There are.
Everyone's looking at him so confused.
He's like, "Why are you wearing that?" So they are both put in an increasingly rising temperature room, and they have to repair the AC before they pass out, or worse. It's pretty serious shit. And the visual of this, the community people did a great job of building this in a way that makes sense. You see the unit they're working on. You have a constant countdown of what the temperature is or if it's going down in the room that they're in. I thought they did a really good job.
I think so too. They really increase the intensity. I love the shots of Troy just standing there watching him kind of panic and go through, because Troy knows he can fix it in an instant. And I think he wants him to be scared, and I think he wants him to start freaking out because he knows that he's better and he knows that, you know, something's afoot.
Yes. Something is afoot indeed.
Also, I have a science fact for later because I did myth bust something.
Something that happened? Okay.
Yeah. So
You
we'll
heard
talk
that?
about later.
Don't tune those dials, kids.
We're
Steven's
gonna
got a
myth bust.
science fact for later. I liked the line. You mentioned, do you like the Dance Moms line? But Britta mentions, I've been thinking about dyeing my hair because she's feeling darker, and that's what Darkest Timeline Britta does. She dyes a blue streak in her hair.
It's great.
Now good Abed is showing up to evil Abed in visions and questioning what evil Abed is doing. But evil Abed is here in the courtroom with a bone saw to try to cut off
Also,
Jeff's
just
arm.
so, because I saw someone else called it a bone saw too. That is not a bone saw. That is a like.
It's like, it
turkey
looks like a
carver.
can opener.
Yeah, that's like for like carving like turkey.
Well,
I think,
Abed
like
called
meat.
it a bone saw. Like he said, "Can I find? Does anybody have a bone saw?" And
Well,
then
because
showed
he
up
said
with this
he
thing.
doesn't own a bone saw, does he? But of course he doesn't own a bone saw. A bone saw is like a.
It's so funny watching him plug it in, and then it's
I'm not
just
a doctor. I don't know.
up.
It looks like a turkey carver to me.
Yeah, the extension cord is just too short, and he can't cut off his arm. And Jeff like looks at him doing this. Everyone sees him doing this with the goatee on, and it's just another normal thing to happen in Greendale.
He like tries to tell Jeff to come over. He's like,
hey, come here.
look, I got this thing.
Got this saw. But nobody can even have the time to think about it. I think that's a pretty funny bit.
Really funny.
Shirley even mentions to Jeff that it would be okay if he kind of throws her under the bus to help out his own career. And that's one of the things that shows Jeff like really what side he needs to take because of the people he's surrounded in. That's a super selfless act of Shirley. We haven't said enough about Shirley. Shirley gets a quietly pretty good episode in this one.
I liked Shirley in this episode. I wish that she had more lines throughout this whole thing.
Always.
I feel like should be pretty involved in this because she is the plaintiff. I get that it's the duel of the lawyers, but I feel like Shirley should have been on the stand at some point. I feel like I don't know why Pierce and Annie were, but not Shirley.
Yeah. We're getting to the point where Jeff needs to give his closing statements, and he gives one of the biggest winger speeches we've had in a long time. We'll get to that
I
in a
liked the
second.
swinger speech quite a bit. I thought it was good.
In the sun chamber, Troy still isn't even breaking down as it gets hotter and hotter, and the other guy is not making it happen. And then Troy fixes his in like 2 seconds. Takes
No
something
look.
out, turns something, doesn't even have to look, and then it's getting cool for him, and he's perfectly comfortable. While the other guys fastly, I hate that I don't know the character's name, that it fastly approaches 100 degrees. That's got to be miserable.
It is. What's the hottest temperature you can ever remember being in, Zach? Was it
I
on
don't
an
know.
excursion to Florida? Was it in a hot Indiana summer?
One of those. I feel like I've definitely been when it's a little over 100, but
Yeah, for
like,
sure.
but not much more, and only a couple of times, like 102 or 5 or
Yeah.
something at the tops. What about you?
Probably same. Yeah, I was in Arizona when it was like 105, 106, I think. But it's like
Dry
dry
heat.
heat, so it doesn't feel the same. And it was pretty hot I have been in Vegas only in October, so it's not quite as hot there. Danny's from Mexico, where it's very, very, very hot.
Yikes.
Yeah. Like, don't go outside.
I
hot.
wilt in the sun. I'm not good in the sun, so.
Just wait, that science fact is coming up in just a couple of scenes.
Let's talk about Jeff's speech here. Sure, it's a really well-performed speech by Joel, but I think we're reaching a point in Community that they definitely do in Season 4, and they keep doing after it, where the Winger's speech becomes less like what makes sense for the situation Jeff is in, and is more the writers being like, these are all of the things that we have to pull together through Jeff saying some magic words.
Yeah.
Like, all of the storylines are resolved with him speaking about this. And yeah, it works. It's delivered well, but it is a little bit of a trick, and I'm onto them.
Zach is hot on your heels, writers of Community.
What did you like about it? What struck you well?
I think what I liked about it was that it was not so much Jeff giving a let's come together and do this because we're a team speech, which is what it usually is. It was more of a, you know what? Some people are good people, and that's worth caring about. And it's worth me, like, there are things that are more important than success and money and winning, losing. It's not about that. It's about being a good person, and I like that.
I do like the way that moments in Jeff's speech coincide with Troy deciding that he has to be the bigger person in his situation, and he can't let this other guy just burn to death. And he eventually fixes his competitor's AC for him so he doesn't die there. Meanwhile, Abed is being kind of talked down from the ledge by Jeff's speech. I thought that was a little bit of a cop-out. Abed deserved a better conclusion to his story.
It's true. I agree.
I like the moment when Jeff is explaining what Alan's doing to Pierce, and Alan doesn't even, like, play it down. He's just like, yep, I was doing that.
Yeah. He's like, no, yeah, for sure.
It's nice that Shirley gets a moment to be called out for the good person she always is. And
so,
yeah, what?
145 degrees is
Steven
not...
was like just counting down the seconds for that. Science fact.
So listen,
science fact incoming,
time.
Everyone.
Steven, the science friend.
All right, Steven, the science friend.
Steven, the science friend.
That's what I said.
You said Steven, the science friend. It doesn't rhyme.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
You gotta have some
buddy.
rhythm to it.
Yes, sir.
According to Google, most humans will suffer hypothermia after 10 minutes in extremely humid 140-degree heat. In this environment, our body temperature could be raised to 104 degrees or above, and we will experience heat stroke, trouble breathing, and organ failure. So
he wasn't in it that long, though.
No, that's what I'm saying. Is it tracks? He could have survived this if Troy.
I thought you said you myth busted it. Well, I guess you did. But it's
this myth is.
So
confirmed.
Your fact was that the joke was right.
Yeah, good job, community.
That is cool. I'm sure they did probably look up, well, how hot can we actually make it get?
How hot is it?
A new segment coming very soon in season 4 of You Can't Disappoint a Podcast.
We try and guess what temperature the room they're filming is in.
That's 72 or it's a dick, buddy. I know it on this one.
He's got 3 beads of sweat on his forehead. He's barely walking. That's a firm 74.
That's
bucko.
a sweater. That's a sweater.
wait. Sweat alert, sweat alert. That's a salty forehead.
What did you think of the Force Ghost moment with Laybourne?
I thought it worked for me.
It worked for me too. It is pretty funny.
I liked it.
Again, it looks like John Goodman doesn't know that he's in this show or that he was there. But it was one nice little moment that helps Troy really make the right decision and do the right thing. And just as Jeff says, you can change the whole game with one move. Bringing a little levity to this deeply ridiculous situation. I wish my AC worked so fast that the degrees just started dropping.
Oh my god, that'd
instantly.
be great. I bet if you lived in a house that small, maybe it would.
Sure. I like the visual of Dreamatorium Grid, Abed stepping back into evil Abed and them becoming one. And Pierce even gets a moment. Here, let's wrap up Chevy Watch, because even though this episode opened up as a plot line that could fixate a little on Pierce, by the end of the episode, he is an afterthought.
Yeah,
when they're all walking through in the hallway, there's no, like, what happens to Pierce in the future, flash forward.
Well, he was there with Shirley.
Okay, sure, he was there. But you know what I mean? There's no, like... Pierce is so barely a character on the show anymore already.
It's true. Which is why I'm surprised that when the execs were like, oh, we can keep Dan or Chevy...
They probably weren't watching the show. I don't know.
Fair enough. They're like, oh, yeah, that guy's great.
But Pierce gets his moment where he fires
Family
Alan.
Christmas Vacation Time?
That sounds like, you know, did you ever go to a rummage sale and they'd have like really bootleg DVDs of movies?
Oh, yeah.
And they were always like Japanese bootleg of DVDs with broken English. And I think there I did find a copy of Christmas Family Vacation Time.
That one's great.
Chevrolet Chase stars in
Shave Chassé.
So the study group, everyone's feeling warm and fuzzy. Jeff won the situation, and he even gets to tell Alan to eat shit because Alan wants to one-up him and says, you know what, I'm the person who got you fired. And Jeff's like, we've known that since 20 episodes ago.
It's true.
And even though Pierce just got done telling a really racist and homophobic joke a little while ago, I love that even Pierce gets a moment when Alan says, this place has made you so gay. He's like, don't use gay as a derogatory term. Good person. They said on the commentary that Chevy really had trouble saying booyah, good person. That he'd be like, booyah, good person. Or like, boo, ya, good person. Like that he would just keep saying it. He didn't know how to say booyah the right way. And he kept his job. I really love the bit now when Troy gets to call out the AC repair school for being as bonkers as it is.
Yeah.
When they're like, take him to the eternal chamber of ice. And he's like, call the police. He murdered someone. And everyone else kind of like has a look as if they'd never thought of it that way before. And he's probably right. And now we're wrapping up to the end of the episode, to the end of the season, and where the episode takes a slight turn towards end of the series.
I suppose.
They agree that Jeff should sign the sandwich shop place and be their attorney. That feels kind of like a really quick, we can wrap up that real fast and Jeff can still do some law stuff. Can he be their attorney or is it just that he can kind of be their attorney if he's the one who everything's
You can
under
be
his
represented
name?
by whoever you want.
I guess that's true. You can represent yourself. Mm-hmm. Which when our lawsuit inevitably happens, I will be representing myself and you.
Well, I figured that we would be against each other, but we'd also represent each other so that we couldn't like play favorites.
So are you questioning yourself on the stand?
Yeah.
You're like, bullshit.
Well, really, because I
And the
know
other
where you
you's
were.
crying. Oh, that's funny. Everything wraps up really fast is why I say we get towards the end of the series stuff. Abed apologizes to Britta. Britta kind of realizes that she has more to learn, but gives up on being a therapist, and Abed talks her out of that. And Abed finds a way to say something nice to her about being a bad shrink, but it really is still kind of bad anyway.
Yeah.
They hug, and then Troy, mind if I cut in? And he shows up like he almost looks as if someone who's returning from war.
No, it's a very like Top Gun, just got out of my
sure.
fighter jet. You know, Independence Day.
Not
I'm
sure
Will
if he's
Smith
alive or
walking through a
not.
desert. Yeah.
And Britta goes for that hug, but of course it's for Abed.
But I do like the moment. Okay, so funny that Troy's like, I told the air conditioner school to act like a regular school because I'm their messiah. And they listen to me. That's great.
Abed's like, cool. I went crazy and I wanted to cut off Jeff's arm. I missed you so much, buddy.
Jeff's like surprise face, like, wait, what? I like the hug with him and Britta. That makes me happy.
Pierce says, so Jeff, are we still best friends? And Jeff just totally disregards it. And then they kind of hallway Law and Order walk their way towards the great place where critically acclaimed comedies that no one watches dies in the sky. And the full version of the theme song plays. You know, I remembered really liking this episode, honestly, because I remembered this moment where it did feel really final and like almost that I got a little emotional. And now I'm just seeing how manipulative music like that can be because there isn't a lot of finality.
Listen, the end of a season of an anime, when they play that opening, you start crying and you don't know why, Zach.
I get it. We see flash forwards of what's going to be happening to the group in the near to distant future. City College is working on a new scheme.
I forgot about the City College sign, like their emblem. Hilarious.
Yeah, there's a dick and balls.
Yeah.
And I guess they're implying that Chang has been exiled from Greendale, so now he's at City College spying in their vents.
Do you think that there's like a vent connecting the two schools that he crawled through to get there?
What if like Greendale is siphoning all of like the air and heat and electricity from City College, so there is like tubes that connect the two?
That'd be hilarious.
Oh, we get the reveal that Starburns is still alive. What do you think of that? You don't really care, do you?
I like Starburns.
I like Starburns
I think they should have
too.
never killed him.
And also, he's not in season 4 because Dino was with Dan, and he left with Dan. So it was kind of for nothing. I mean, we see him in season 5, but not until season 5. Jeff Googles his dad's name. I guess that's progress.
Good luck, Jeff.
The moment that really does resonate a little bit is Abed taking down the Dreamatorium to welcome Troy back into their home, but giving him his own space in their home.
Which is really nice.
Is super nice. And that it's not even like a conversation or an issue. It's just something that happens. And that, of course, Abed, who still lives in the pillow fort that he loves so much, or blanket fort, gets to have his own little corner of the Dreamatorium that he can still go to when he needs help coping with things.
Which is great.
It is a really nice little moment. And the lights, as the Dreamatorium whirs into action, fades the screen to white when we get that 6 seasons in a movie, because we didn't know if we were getting more Community at this point.
Yeah.
So it was kind of just a rallying call for all the fans. I think, them airing all 3 episodes at the same time, I'm sure we probably thought it wasn't getting renewed.
Yeah, I'm sure if I were watching this live at the time, I'd be like, oh, this is done.
And that's the end of the episode. It's an interesting one to watch because you can't help but look at it from both the season finale and potential series finale perspective. It's an episode that had a lot on its plate, and since it had so much and it stumbled a little bit, it's not one that I'm going to go back to a lot, but it didn't really trip and fall too bad. Like, it did a good job with all the stuff it wanted to do. It just took on too much because it was a show that didn't know how much time it had left. That being said, what do you think now that we've made our way through it?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I think that it was a good episode. And honestly, I like it better than the season 1 finale. And I
don't know if I do, but I can see that.
Well, I didn't like the season 1 finale.
And I don't really either. I guess
maybe,
I don't know.
Dislike this episode.
I'd have to watch them both, I think.
And then was the season 2 finale, was that paintball?
It was the double paintball.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, we'll talk about all that.
No, was it?
Next
Was
week.
double paintball the end of it?
Of season 2? Yeah, of course it was.
I didn't know
Fistful of
that was the last
paintballs and a few
episode.
paintballs more. Yeah.
Season 2. Oh, you know what? We did the cape in between that, and there was a gap in my notes, and I was like, what?
Oh,
yeah, okay. I probably like the season 2 finale, especially if I'm thinking it and 2 points better than this. But I like this more than season 1 finale.
Interesting.
And now we get the stud man himself.
Well, I'd be curious. I want to hear from the people listening, however you want to get a hold of us. Tell us, what do you think of this as a season finale compared to all the other season finales? It's interesting because from this point forward, every season finale of Community is like a maybe series finale for Community. So I'd be interested to hear how people think those rank, like which ones are better of the maybe finales of the worst ones. And I think this is probably one of the better ones, honestly. Because I don't like the season 4 finale, and I don't really like the season 5 finale. And then the season 6 finale is the series finale, and it's wonderful.
Yeah.
And
I love these different videos that Leonard has. I especially am partial to the tips to keep your temp up in a frozen food aisle.
Yeah, we get, and there's the one,
chili.
so we get a Leonard potato chip review. It's exactly how it sounds, but it's so wholesome because it's Leonard. He has a little trouble getting the bag open. It's good times. I liked that one of the other ones was a pizza review, and it says box too hard to open in the title, as if that was like a dock against the frozen pizza. Yeah, it was a good one. I like the unexplained shirtless man, like young man who is Leonard's roommate that just walks into frame.
Thanks for doing the dishes, Leonard.
Super funny. That's probably my favorite part of this intag.
So funny.
It's like, I've already had some of these, but let's see. Yep, that's a buy. Salty, not too greasy. And you know what? That's what I'll say about season 3 of Community as we wrap it to a close. Salty, not too greasy.
Yeah,
I think it's a buy. It's a definite buy. And with that, the episode's over, and with that, the season's over, Steven. We're done with season 3 of Community.
I'm high as hell, and you're about to get shot.
It's been quite a roller coaster. I don't really think I expected season 3 to have as many ups and downs. I thought it was going to be mostly ups.
I did too, and I remembered it very fondly, but I remembered a lot of the highs, but I didn't remember a lot of the not so high moments, And I think that we can both probably agree definitively, without any question, if we couldn't before, that season 2 is stronger.
Season 2 is the best. I think season 1 is probably a little stronger, even if season 3 maybe has a couple of the Mount Rushmore worthy episodes that season 1 doesn't. Season 1's just really cohesive and solid, and consistent is a great word. This season is all over the place. And I'm excited next week because we're going to take a pause before we walk into the murky waters of Community's last 3 seasons, and we're going to talk about Season 3 as a whole next week on our Season 3 roundtable. It's something we do every season, and it's something that I really look forward to doing every season, where we get to look back on the highs and lows of the season we just talked about, along with other Community fans and podcasters that we like and appreciate, to get their opinions on it. I know for a fact one of the people we're having next week, Season 3, is their favorite season of Community, and they feel really strongly about that. So I'm looking forward to hearing that argument.
Yeah, should be good.
So tune in next
shut
week.
them down and let them know they're wrong. Just kidding.
We're about to step firmly into the murky waters of Season 4 of Community. Before we do, who's your final MVP of Season 3? Who takes the MVP in Introduction to Finality?
This was a tough one.
It is a tough one.
I wavered just a little bit, but I had to stick with my gut. I'm going to give honorable mentions. I think that the Dean has some really funny stuff in it. I think Abed's great in this episode. I think Britta's great in this episode. I really like Jeff in this episode. But it comes down to me with who was the most valuable to the episode individually for me.
That is what MVP means.
And that's got to be Troy. I think that whole last sequence where he's in the sun chamber
saw that coming
shows
from a mile
so much.
away.
I know. It shows how much growth he's had. It shows that he is an independent person. I think that even just how cool he is when he comes back to the group. Troy's my MVP for this episode. I think it was really, really close for me between him and Abed, though.
It's
Abed
interesting.
was so close.
Next week, we're going to tally up all the MVPs and see who gets it. And I thought it was such a mixed bag this season, but there's been a lot of Troys lately.
Yeah.
In interest of that, and really I was thinking about this before, Troy was a thought, for sure. Troy and Abed both.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to give my MVP to Jeff.
Okay.
I think he really plays it well this episode. I think his character probably has the most, maybe not more than Troy, but the most cohesive and satisfying character arc in the episode. I think they do good stuff with him. I think his speech, even though I had a few issues with the way that they write those speeches, I think it does pull the episode together in a pretty satisfying way. And Joel delivers some good jokes and some good lines here. Isn't smarmy. I'm gonna give it to Jeff. It's a bye.
There we go. It's a bye for Jeff.
And that's not quite the end of our Season 3 coverage, but that is the end of our coverage for Season 3, Episode 22, Introduction to Finality. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I enjoyed doing this season.
I enjoy every episode of it.
Nope,
Oh,
not
so
with you,
much.
buddy.
I love
Sorry.
it.
No.
We hope that you will all tune in next week as we talk about Season 3 as a whole with some special guests. We're going to have Alex of 6 Seasons in a Podcast, one of our absolute favorites. Matt of Communities, our birth father that can't be disputed.
Papa.
And for the first time on our program, we're going to have Jen of the Community Rewatch Podcast, and I'm very excited to have her as well. It's going to be a lot of fun. Come and join us. And also, get ready for what's ahead by writing us in at can'tdisappointpodcast@gmail.com for your trivia, your favorite funny moment, and your episode MVP for History 101 for when we dive into Season 4. And come check us out on Patreon. If you like what we do on the show and you want to see us take it further, both with Community and beyond, patreon.com/can'tdisappointpodcast is the way to do that. Steven, where can the cheapskates find us?
Well, whether you're a patron or not, you can find us over on Twitter, over at You Can't Disapod. You can also find us on Instagram under the name Can't Disappoint Podcast. And then we also like to hang out over on Facebook and YouTube if you're into that sort of thing. Our name to type into your little search bar there is You Can't Disappoint a Podcast. The whole name of the show, the whole name of the game is following us, subscribing. You just smash that like button with your little fingies.
Your dirty little
let us know,
piggy.
You make sure you don't wash them till after you smash that button, because we want to get all your
smash and wash
all
us,
your
kids.
goop. Yeah. Oh yeah.
And that being said, I think that's where we've got to end things this week. It's been a lot of fun. From inside the Dreamatorium, Black Lives Matter. Go get your booster shot or get your first shot if you're an idiot and haven't gotten that yet. And I'm Zach.
I'm Steven.
We love you very much. We'll see you next week for the roundtable, and then we charge forward into the world of Community to see what the second half of this show we love so much has to do for us.
I'm high as hell, you're about to get shot. I'm high as hell, you're about to get shot.
Now, Steven, how can we really quick in the last 10 seconds of this turn it into, what if this is the last episode of the podcast?
I'm leaving.
I'm sure that my moving to Minnesota tomorrow won't affect the show, but it's time for me to pack up and start a new family, Steven.
Well, I am going to enter myself into a rehabilitation program. I just can't get enough Let's Chips.
We'll be back next week, guys. We love you. Goodbye.
Bye, kids.
Give me some